Hi there, I'm Scott, and this is Great Scott Knitting Passover 2021, day 5. Wow, already day 5. That's crazy. Yeah, so today is Wednesday, March 31st, 2021, the end of March. Transgender Awareness Day. So to all of you in the transgender community, you beautiful men and women, my message to you today and every day is you're seen, you are cherished, you are you are. And I think that's what's important, is that you are, and that's a good thing. You exist. You play a part. You are B'Tselem Elohim, made in the image of God. And you are good. So tonight is we count the fourth night of the Omer, or the fourth day of the Omer, which begins at sundown. So we will begin that count for tonight. So Baruch Atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam asher kiddushanu b'mitzvotav v'tzivanu asfirat haomer hayom arba'a yamim laomer. Today is 4 days of the Omer. The topic or the meditation concept for this week is chesed, loving kindness. And today's aspect of loving kindness that we are meditating on is netzach, endurance. It's also a term that means eternity, longevity. For me, the first thing that comes to mind is that saying that it's not a sprint, it's a marathon. In terms of life, well, I think that's a case could be made also for kindness, loving kindness. It's not a destination, it's a way of life, it's a way of being. It takes perseverance, endurance, because it's not always easy. You have to keep going. You have to choose to be kind in the moments that it's hard. There are lots of opportunities to be kind when it's easy, but to choose kindness when it's hard, that's a little different. So the meditation from aish.com is my love enduring? Does it withstand challenges and setbacks? Do I give and withhold love according to my moods, or is it constant regardless of the ups and downs of life? Lots of good questions. The exercise, reassure a loved one of the constancy of your love. I think it's important. I guess I kind of took a different bend to it, of being consistent, being consistently kind, that kind of endurance. But yes, I see the other as well. So that's something to think about, is how do you keep being kind in an unkind world? I think that is something to consider and question oneself about. For me, I think the way I maintain my endurance of kindness, if I have any kindness at all, is to choose it. I mean, in many ways, it comes down to that golden rule that comes from many different religious backgrounds. The Christians say, "Do unto others as you would have them do to you." The Jewish perspective is slightly different. It's that which you find abhorrent, don't do to another. It's sort of in the negative. But either way, however you want to put it, it's treating others the way you hope to be treated by others. But I think it goes beyond that. I think it's choosing not only to treat others the way you want to be treated, but maybe to be better than that. To choose to do something nice and say something nice when the impetus might be to say something cruel or demeaning. Which actually kind of brings up that concept of of looking at the transgender community and all of the unkind things that are happening to that community as we speak, across the country, across the world. It comes from a lack of understanding, of course. Most times when we are cruel to another person or to a community, it's because we don't understand them, because we haven't taken the time. And I think maybe that's part of endurance too, is taking the time, putting one foot in front of the other to, number one, understand another person. And actually, what could be more kind than to understand someone else from their perspective? Again, we're kind of back to that theme that is ultimate kindness. The love that is in love, the kindness that is kindness. It's giving of yourself, and understanding another person is huge. And I think that's what I strive to do, is to try to understand. I don't have to agree to understand. I don't have to agree to show kindness and to seek to understand another person. Doesn't mean that that's the right path for me. But I guess part of me can imagine being in those shoes of seeing yourself in the mirror or looking in the mirror and not seeing yourself until you make some changes about how you express who you are, and then you see yourself. I think for me, it took many, many years to look in the mirror and see myself. I think it took many, many years for me to be able to sit in front of a camera and look at myself and then eventually watch it back and not cringe and look away and not want to see it. Because that's what I look like. That's what I sound like. Those are the gestures I make. I mean, that still happens a little bit. But I've gotten, I guess, old age. You know what? I'm going to claim it. I'm 50, and I didn't expect to live this long. I'm 50, actually almost 55, but I didn't expect to live this long. So, I kind of got over being old a long time ago when I thought I would never be old. So now that I am old, I'm like, yeah, so what? With age comes its privilege. Privileges. I have my AARP card and I use it. And as I reach older limits of age, I certainly am going to use all of those benefits as well without batting an eye. Proudly, I will do that. And I think everybody should be given the opportunity to reach a nice, ripe old age where they can have been through enough that they can look in the mirror and see themselves. And that includes people in the transgender community, those, brave men and women living their lives against so much adversity. Too many of them have to struggle. And that's something we all need to work at changing. And it starts with understanding, seeing yourself in those shoes, remembering when it was like to look in the mirror and not see yourself. Because I think we've all had that. Maybe some of us still do. Yes. So, on to knitting, the fibery things that I do. As you can see, Spock, my handy dandy, ever so stoic model of my knitwear, usually a shawl. He doesn't have much of a head that he can model those types of things, but scarves and shawls, he's top notch. And the nice thing is his blue ensemble works so well with so many colors. So he is modeling my Just Off the Needles Close to You shawl by Justina Lorkowska. It has been blocked. It looks really quite lovely. And so there he is sporting that. Which I showed you a little bit yesterday, but poof, there it is. Also, I want to show you my progress on the Color Strike shawl by Josh Ricks Rabinski, which he's also known as Rebel Pup Knits. So here is my progress. I have to say that as I got past these early stages where it looked like the dried lavender and the stardust were just a little too much alike, that it seemed like the lavender was being swallowed into that stardust color, that dark variegated skein. As I moved through this and got more of those stripes, and then paralleled it with the block of that color, it started to come together, and I'm starting to see it now much more. When it was just this section here, it seemed lost, but as then it progressed and there was more of that color, it just started to then pop out. It started to be seen. And then in this section, this is really quite lovely. The dapple gray next to that lavender looks really lovely as well. And I love how instead of being, I don't know if you remember the examples that I showed yesterday of this pattern knit up on Ravelry. The color schemes that many people have selected are very bright, very bold. And I like how this one is more subtle, more subdued, kind of like early spring. It's got some subtleness to it. And I just love how these colors are coming together. I'm beginning to really fall in love with my choices. And I didn't know that they were going to go well. So I'm really pleased by that. Oh, yes. So the other thing I want to talk about is I have been watching, and let me get rid of this additional light. Don't need it. I have been watching Christy Glass, her podcast on YouTube. And isn't it just called? Yes, Christy Glass Knits. She has actually a really lovely podcast that she puts together, and she does a lot of interviews. She used to do them very much in person, and then COVID hit, and now she does them virtually, which is wonderful as well. Well, I guess I don't know how long ago she did this, at least a couple years back. She started in March. She had this idea of featuring male knitters, and she calls it Manch. So MANCH as opposed to MARCH. Very cute. I guess she's been getting a lot of grief from women because March is Women's History Month, and she's celebrating men who knit. Well, in knitting, women often get most of the hoorah, so oh well. It's really quite a lovely series, and her selection of people that she is interviewed this year is quite eclectic, and I have been really enjoying it. Now it's really interesting. I don't always agree with some of the viewpoints of some of the people that she has interviewed, but I have found them all fascinating. The only thing that I would like to see her do in the future is break out of her East Coast, New York City environment. Now, some of the people she did interview were overseas. Some of the people I haven't watched them all yet, so I don't know where everybody is, but she did make it as far in terms of where the interviewees were located as Chicago and New Orleans. I haven't noticed her being able to move any further west than that, and certainly not more central. But that's okay. The people that she highlights, she's highlighting very well-known people like Josh Bennett, Louis Boria. Many of them are designers, and all of them, pretty much all of them in the knitting world, there are a couple crocheters that are folks that are more primarily crochet. So let me show you. That's what I was going to do, but I just didn't do it. So let me show you. So here are some of the folks that she interviewed. So Josh Bennett, David Vandekamp, which he is a sort of a I don't know, co-owner isn't right, but he and another person have a group on Facebook, and they are doing a knit along of one of his recent designs. It's a really cute design. It's a lace wrap, which is really cute. Andre de Castro, he's Portuguese. Lovely. Actually, he's got some really great designs too. Yarn Dyer, Ken Yarn, designer Nico Duke, Mr. Knitwear, and the Mr. Knitwear actually stands for Modern Renaissance. So, knitting bartender, he's the one in New Orleans. Of course, Brooklyn Boy Knits. I've also watched the one on Michael at Piece for Piece Crafting. So now, technically, the one on Knit Bro is not from March. It's actually a few months older, but I'm kind of including it in my list of need to watch because I know he's a very a good yarn dyer, and so I'm interested in his story. And of course, there's Zach Stout, who's a crocheter. He has a really great podcast as well, and so and he also won a for better lack of a better term, a beauty contest. It's certainly more than just beauty, but he is certainly a beautiful person. Not just to look at, but also his attitude, his approach. He's really a lovely gentleman. But I don't remember what that pageant thing was that he won. So I need to watch and remember. Christopher McGovern, who I know is a designer, as I think are Mr. Knit Bear, and I know Rastus Shoe is also a designer. So lots and lots of designers, a few just knitter new podcaster type folks. Most of these folks I think are really well established people that she knew from seeing at different events and such. Except for, but there are a couple of them that seem to be very, very new to her. So, yeah, so there's that. I've really been enjoying it, and because I don't think men get recognized for their craft as much as I would like for them to. Certainly, if you look at knitting magazines and other knitting publications, you just don't see very much for men, and even less by men. And the few publications that have tried to focus on that have not done well, which is unfortunate. We're just not maybe big enough for that level of, a big splashy publication. But if someone could put out maybe a yearly anthology of men's knitting and men's designs by men for men, but it doesn't have to be stuff. It doesn't have to be just masculine stuff. I know a lot of men who enjoy wearing shawls. Spock loves them. Anyway. Cool. So there's all that. So thank you for joining me on this lovely night. I hope that you're enjoying this little series and getting a little something out of it. I know I am, because my doing this for you is actually doing it for me. So take that however you would like. So thank you for watching. If you enjoy this video, please hit the thumbs up. If you enjoy the content on this channel, subscribe, and you know what? Share it with a friend. And of course, if you want to be notified of any new content coming up on my channel, hit the little bell icon and choose the notification type of your choice. And give me a comment in the comments below. I try to respond to everybody that gives me a comment. Yeah. So again, thank you for joining. May you have peace in your home and the fullness of joy for all who dwell there. Good night.